Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. I hope you're doing well. I had a issue with my iPhone. I could not get the thing to start. And this went on for a few days and I had it charged and everything and no matter what I did it would not start. So I was on the phone with Verizon. They were telling me to do all this stuff, nothing worked. And I'm like, you know what? Let me see if I can piece this together myself. So I looked at a couple of troubleshooting YouTube videos, and even that didn't work. The only thing I didn't try was I had a wireless charger that I never used before. So I went and got it. Do you know that my phone fired right up? I said, it's really sad when you call for help and the people, and first of all, they were all foreigners. I don't think I spoke to not one American. They were all foreigners trying to guide me through and turning my phone on, and nothing they told me worked. Now, it's pretty bad when you can figure it out yourself and don't even need their customer service, but so much for that. I feel like I feel like they just wasted my time and my everything on the phone. I was on the phone with them for over 40 minutes and they could not help me get my phone turned back on. What it is, if anybody ever run into this problem, especially if you have an iPhone, sometimes when you use like third party charging cables and things, it will actually throw things off. As long as you have like a certified Apple charger, you should be okay. And that really was the root of my problem. I bought a cheaper charging cable and I was using it, and it actually threw my phone off to the point where it would not start up. So, and the good thing is my wireless charger was certified Apple. So it fired right up. So much for that. Gave me a headache this morning. So let's talk about Somalia. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know there was another culprit involved in this, and I know over the last few days you saw a white woman appear. Her name is Aimee Bock, and they're saying she was the actual mastermind behind the feeding our future, the meals they were serving these invisible children in Minnesota. She was the mastermind behind the whole thing. And, here's how I feel about that. It does not absolve the Somalians in their role. Just because somebody comes to you with an idea to scam the system, you didn't have to go along with it. You could have told this woman, no, no, we're not going to do that. We don't want to go to jail, or we don't want to get involved in that kind of scamming. Y'all went right along with it. So, how does that absolve you from the crime? It doesn't. It doesn't matter what a person suggests. You don't have to go along with a crime. So I don't see how that gets the Somalians off the hook. You just followed somebody into a crime, but I'm sure when she explained this whole thing, you clearly knew it was a crime. This is right up there with white people trying to give this argument. Oh, well, Africans sold other Africans into slavery. Well, you know what? One thing about me, I know European history, and Europeans sold other Europeans into slavery over there in Europe. Okay. So just come across me because I know that history. And number two, it doesn't absolve you from all of the evil you did during that time of chattel slavery. How are you absolved from it? So anyway, this stuff about, okay, yeah, let's say she is the mastermind. Y'all act like she held a gun to your head and you had to go along with it. You didn't have to go along with that. If you really weren't about scamming, you could have walked away. When she made the suggestion to you, you could have walked away. I see, I don't buy all this stuff. They're not innocent in anything. They're not innocent. So we're going to listen to, I'm waiting for this video to download too, by the way. So anyway, I'm just not, I'm not feeling it, Somalia. I'm not. And some of them are getting more emboldened on this videos I saw, and I might show y'all a little later at another time. This Somalian woman gets on a video that I watched this morning, said they were the beginning of civilization. Somalia ain't no damn beginning of some civilization. She said they have created everything that we use in our daily life. That is a damn lie. If that's the case, why does Somalia look the way that it does? Okay, why does Somalia look so damn primitive? And y'all were the creators of everything. I tell you what, looking at Somalia, it don't look like y'all created much. That country looks atrocious. It looks awful. So if you are the creator of everything, you must have created everything except for your country. So, y'all need to get off of these videos lying, talking about this land was promised to you, and Minnesota and the entire United States was promised to you. Nothing was promised to a Cushite. Okay, nothing was promised to you. And you are not the creators of everything. And life did not begin with Somalia. Okay, y'all can miss us all with this whole thing. Like I said, everybody wants to be chosen. Nobody wants to be the Gentile. That's all. So I just find this thing hilarious. But these people are a trip. They really, truly are. They're actually getting worse. And nobody's going to have sympathy for y'all at all. This is why nobody's coming to help you out. People aren't coming. Nobody's coming to stand by scamming. If we stand by you, we're standing by scamming. Nobody's going to do that. That's why no one is running to your aid. I even noticed, because y'all all love harping on being Arabs, even the Arab community is not coming to your aid. They're staying far away from you. Well, you're about to learn how hard it is to fight this system, especially by yourself. For real. All right, let me share my screen. All right, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
Aimee Bock, the former executive director of Feeding Our Future, who a jury convicted of facilitating $240 million in fraud meant to feed needy children, is ordered by a judge to pay back about $5.2 million. Bock's sentencing hearing hasn't been scheduled yet, but the judge signed the forfeiture order. It's worth noting that the Fed seized $3.6 million from her bank accounts. That goes toward the $5.2 million total that she personally benefited from the fraud. Having covered all these cases, I can tell you that is a much higher recovery percentage than most of the fraud defendants. I'm Lou Raguse. Follow for more news.
So let me give you the Aimee Bock breakdown and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the people that need it. For the people that keep comparing the situation to Aimee Bock, actually, this is all tied in. Okay, so Aimee Bock had a nonprofit foundation called Feeding Our Future. This was a nonprofit foundation that was to feed the children around COVID and provide low-income children and families and people in need with meals, especially around COVID and just in general, right? So nonprofits get funding or grants or et cetera, whatever they're getting from the government or different places, grants, foundations, et cetera, right? And then they are supposed to spend those funds accordingly on what they said when they wrote their grant letter, or when they got the funds, what they said that the funds were going to be allocated to. Or if it's not formally written in a grant letter, they have to show what services, what did this nonprofit provide? What did it cover with this? Whether that was legal expenses, whatever, but everything has to be accounted for in a nonprofit. So what she did was she basically embezzled $250 million from the government during COVID with her partner in crime, okay, Salim Saeed, okay, who was charged, another Somalian national. And they never fed any children. And so you're asking, well, how does this all tie in, or where does it come to? Well, you have people that are trying to say, well, she did it. No, it was like 70 something people were indicted in that or charged or whatever the case was in that. Don't let me misquote you. However, in order to get that sort of funding, you would need to have $250 million worth of children to feed, hypothetically speaking, which we know that's not 250 million children, but we know that that would have to be a lot of centers, a lot of childcare places. And if you are saying that you're feeding children across America, you would need to recruit children. There would need to be some sort of ledger, syllabus, because you need to prove where these funds went. So do you know what my hypothesis is? Go down the rabbit hole if you want to. They opened up ghost daycares, paid individuals for their children's information, and got the funding they needed to live their lavish lifestyles. Now, like, let me give you a little more background. In the African culture, because my ex-husband was African, and especially Somalian culture, most children go back home. So if a mother comes here, she has her child, a husband and a mother. Most of them send their children, back home to be raised by their parents or spend time in their country to learn the native tongue and to get the education and to learn the religion. Which would kind of make sense why the daycares were empty. However, they have to show a ledger to get this funding. It's bigger than that, babe. And I just want to be clear. 40 people who were charged in this, in the Aimee Bock situation back in 2022, around then circa and up, were all Somali natives. That's all. Also, I just want to add this. Aimee Bock has been charged already. Aimee Bock has been charged already. I don't want to hear shit else. I don't want to keep hearing you guys' excuse about, well, Aimee Bock did it. Two wrongs don't make it right. She already got her day. Now let's give you guys yours.
So I'm getting a lot of messages about all of this alleged fraud that's happening in Minnesota because it's my home state. The first message I got was from a friend of mine asking me if I'd seen that video that wackadoodle Nick Shirley did going to that like quick learning center or whatever it's called. And I'm not saying there's not fraud going on in Minnesota. I'm just saying that some of it seems to be from Nick Shirley. So he goes to this learning center. It's a daycare that has taken millions of dollars. He's knocking, nobody's come to the door. But it would seem that he's actually at the back door. So here he is at the front door. It's a restaurant called Abdi's Kitchen. That learning center shut down due to multiple violations, none of which I don't believe had to do with fraud. But he doesn't tell his followers that it's actually a restaurant. So I got a bunch of messages about that. And then I got this comment on Instagram, which is a bad faith question. This guy is MAGA. And there has been a huge MAGA push to think about Somali people as fraudsters. Usually what they're referencing is the Feeding Our Future case. And yes, a lot of Somali people were implicated in that case. But what they conveniently leave out is this woman, Aimee Bock. In 2016, she founded the nonprofit Feeding Our Future. And in 2020 is when the fraud began. This was at the beginning of the pandemic. This was during DJT's first term. He completely mishandled the pandemic to the point that he loosened oversight on these kinds of programs, allowing claims to get through unverified. And Feeding Our Future claimed that they were giving thousands of meals to children, and they never did. They pocketed that money to the tune of $240 million. In 2022, during Biden's term, Biden's FBI raided the organization, and the organization shut down. There were 78 suspects, Aimee Bock, and all of her employees. In March of 2025, 40 of those people, including Aimee Bock, were either found guilty or pled guilty. Merrick Garland called it the largest pandemic relief fraud scheme that there ever was. And Biden's administration shut it down. So most of the 78 people who were indicted and the 40 people who were found or pled guilty were Somali, but they were also Bach's employees. She was described as an authoritarian who silenced dissent within her ranks, discouraged scrutiny from state regulators, and cut off people who refused to comply with fudging the numbers. She is the person who created all of this. And now this has become a huge right-wing talking point because of racism and xenophobia. But no one ever mentions her. the person who created it. Now, there's a ton more to the story, but I know that this guy asked me to cover this, to prove that Somali people are bad, because that's what this admin wants you to think. The reality is, every community has bad actors. That is not an indication of a community as a whole, unless maybe we're talking about some white women like Aimee Bock, who actually was only caught because of Somali whistleblowers. They were the ones who dissented, the ones that Bach iced out. Anyway, too long didn't read. There are bad actors everywhere, but in this case, it was a white woman.
Hey, Donald. Do I look Somalian? I'm the former founder and executive director of nonprofit Feed the Future. Convicted mastermind, Aimee Bock, of Minnesota's massive $250 million pandemic fraud case. Pardon much?
What did I say? In the video when it first broke out, or when I became aware of it, I said, who do you think taught these people how to do this fraud and embezzlement? It wasn't us. This country kept their eyes on us. I said, you already know who it is. Did you really think they wanted to work with you guys? Did you ever realize that they were using you? I was looking at this TikTok video, and this guy said, well, see, y'all wanted to move to y'all little communities and be around these folks and speak in your language and block us out. He was talking about blocking indigenous Black folks out. He said, if y'all, listen to us and told us what y'all was trying to do, we could have told you, don't trust these people. We know, fully aware of their get down. Check this out.
A federal jury convicted Feeding Our Future founder Aimee Bock and restaurant owner Salim Saeed on all charges yesterday. These are new booking photos of the two locked up tonight in Sherburne County as they await sentencing. But the effort to claw back the millions of taxpayer dollars they stole is still happening. Investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen is following that part of
Aimee Bock is the founder of the organization that lied and said they fed 91 meals to needy children receiving $250 million. Why, when these immigrants come to this country, one of the first things they want to do is start a nonprofit? Who taught them that? And another thing, I used to live around Africans, and an African man told me how they get down. He told me that they start nonprofits, including churches, and that's how they defraud the government.
Kevin, if you've been following this case, you know the big number, nearly $250 million stolen from a federal program to feed kids in need. And now we're learning more about where that money went and what's being done to get it back. It's a sweet house on a cul-de-sac in Plymouth. Even sweeter online in real estate photos featuring an indoor basketball court. On Wednesday, a jury found Salim Saeed used federal food money to buy the house for $1.1 million. Now it's part of a government portfolio of property seized in the Feeding Our Future fraud investigation across Minnesota, the United States, and even in places such as Turkey and Kenya. A first step in trying to recover nearly $250 million stolen from taxpayers.
Now, I do believe that there are some people in the Somali community that did commit fraud. I do believe that, but I also believe that they are being thrown under the bus. I believe, because it's easier for immigrants to come over here and commit all kind of crimes and build criminal empires, right? Until this country don't need them anymore. But anyway, I believe they were taught by those people who think they're in charge of everything, because they're the ones who get mainly busted for white collar crimes. And I believe that they're the ones who stole the billions of dollars, and the Somalis are taking the rap. But see, that's what happened when you come over here and you speak these racist talking points against us and think that you could do better than us.
The culprit behind one of the largest pandemic-era frauds has now been formally held financially accountable.
Hey, Donald. Do I look Somalian? I'm the former founder and executive director of nonprofit Feed the Future. Convicted mastermind, Aimee Bock, of Minnesota's massive $250 million pandemic fraud case.
The culprit behind one of the largest pandemic-era frauds has now been formally held financially accountable. After being convicted on multiple counts of wire fraud, Aimee Bock, the former leader of a nonprofit at the center of the scheme, has been ordered to repay millions siphoned from programs meant to feed vulnerable children. The operation exploited emergency relief efforts during the COVID-19 crisis, using fabricated meal distribution sites and falsified records to divert public funds for personal gain. What was presented as a humanitarian mission was, in reality, a calculated effort to enrich those involved while exploiting a system designed to help families in need. The scope of the case has been staggering, with more than 80 individuals charged as investigators unraveled the web of deception. This week, a judge set restitution at $5,241,522.79. The repayment includes millions held in organizational bank accounts, a luxury sports car, and a wide array of seized valuables, electronics, designer clothing, accessories, and jewelry, recovered from both office space and a private residence. These assets now represent a partial attempt to recover money taken under false pretenses. Others connected to the scheme have already faced severe consequences, including lengthy prison sentences and restitution orders reaching tens of millions of dollars. Prosecutors revealed that claims of serving millions of meals were supported by rosters filled with non-existent children, underscoring the brazen scale of the fraud. While the financial judgment has been finalized, sentencing has yet to be scheduled. The case stands as a stark reminder of how crisis relief can be exploited and how accountability, though delayed, can still arrive.
We've learned a judge has decided how much money Aimee Bock, the mastermind behind the massive Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, will have to pay back. Now, Bock's the former executive director of Feeding Our Future and was convicted of facilitating the theft of $240 million meant to feed kids in need during the pandemic. Judge Nancy Brazel entered a money judgment for $5.2 million that Bach directly or indirectly received from the fraud. Bach's sentencing date has not yet been set.
Thank you for watching. Follow Grapevine TV on TikTok. Like, comment, save, and share our content.
I tell you what, Aimee had an awful lot of zits on her face for an adult woman. And you mean to tell me you have millions of dollars and you didn't do nothing about that face full of zits you had? Come on. You sure didn't spend the money wisely. So anyway, y'all, now Aimee Bock's name is coming up, especially over these last few days. And I don't know. I'm still saying the Somalians could have walked away. You did not have to buy into what this woman was saying, especially if you knew it was a crime. So you're all adults and you made an adult decision to be part of a scam. I don't feel sorry. And it was more than 50% of you that took part in it. And that's why I can't even take y'all seriously when you keep getting on these videos talking about we did all of this in one generation. Yeah, but you didn't do it without scamming. You didn't do it without scam money in one generation. It's not impressive if you commit crimes. So anyway, y'all, this is where it stands. With Aimee Bock and and I do believe she probably was the mastermind behind it, but all of those Somalians hey, they jumped on the bandwagon right along with her. So hey, it is what it is. And Donald Trump, if you don't believe it, y'all sit there in disbelief. He's gonna start rounding y'all up and putting you in jail. That's what's gonna happen. He's going to round you up and put your asses behind bars. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you for being here. I have another live coming up because we are now past January 1st, 2026, which means everybody's premiums are going to double and triple now if you have health care. So, that will be at 6:45, so I will see you then. Shalom, family.